Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Assalamu alaikum, Aishah. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm doing very well. How are you? It's been
I'm
a
all
long
right,
time.
thank you. It's been a very long time since we've been online together, and I apologize, everyone. It's my fault that we were late because I think, is it a premenopausal or like a middle age moment where I actually forgot that I had Thursday Thoughts today? I don't know what happened. So I apologize if Aisha didn't message me and Shanaz, one of our inner tribe members, didn't message me. I think I would have actually just forgotten about Thursday Thoughts. So I apologize. I did plan it. We were ready for it, weren't we, Aisha? The email's gone out. Everything's happened. I've planned it all, but I just forgot. So first of all, I'll apologize about that. Secondly, thank you for being patient with us and waiting this long for us to get online. Thirdly, if it's the first time that you're joining us, we are coaches, parent coaches. Aisha is an Islamic relationship and divorce coach, and I am an education coach. And we have Iram on our team, who is a behavior specialist and life coach. We also have Farida, who is a productivity coach. We have Amina, help me out. Forgetting now. We have Amina, who is a spiritual healing coach. We have Yusra, who is a fitness coach. Mashallah, did I miss anyone out?
No, I don't
I
think
hope
so.
not. Okay, mashallah. So all of us work together to help you guys with your parenting problems and issues and anything that pops up that could affect your parenting. So the other day, funnily enough, we had a nice long conversation on the WhatsApp group about the best washing powder, didn't we, Aisha?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was kind of fun, wasn't it?
Washing
And
scrubs as well, like what we could scrub our pans with.
exactly, right. So what to scrub your pans with, what's the best way to do it, what are the best pans to buy. So someone might think that's not really parenting, but you know what, sisters, everything goes. We've got it all from
Everything.
A to Z. Whatever you like to talk about, we're here today, and we're welcoming all of your questions today, so you can basically ask us anything. So to start off, we had a nice question just right at the end, just before we went live, which I'd like to start off with because it's kind of a short answer, Aisha. So Sister Alia has said that we hear all these scientific facts about the teenagers that have hormones and their prefrontal cortex hasn't developed and so on. So there's logical reasons to understand their behavior. So she's saying that if that is how it's supposed to work, it doesn't matter what we do, they're simply going to go about doing what a teen does. Is that so? So we don't need to get upset if our methods don't work. Is that right?
Yeah.
What do you think, Kaish?
I think yes. I still do think that you should continue to create space for them. So everything that we're teaching, working on ourselves, creating space for our children, understanding them, hearing them out, all of that stuff still works and still definitely helps. But you do have to give your kids that grace, that space to kind of figure out what's going on in their lives, because sometimes you can see it, but what we don't remember is that we have X amount of years more experience than them. So we've seen all of this. We know what's probably going to happen next, so to speak, but they don't. So all teenagers think they know better than you, don't they? They just
Yeah.
always think they know better than you because they're going through it for the first time, even though you've gone through it multiple times. Um, but you have to give them that kind of benefit of the doubt and think, okay, they're going through it the first time. Let them experience it, create that space for them still as they're trying to figure out their own bodies and their own lives. Really. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like I don't think that we should feel kind of like hopeless, like, oh, it doesn't matter what I do, they're still going to do whatever they're going to do. Like, I don't think we should go down that route and feel hopeless, but we should still continue with the strategies, with the methods, because one day, at some point they are going to listen to you. I just had a conversation actually last week with a couple of mums at a play date that I had for my 6-year-old. So my 6-year-old is the youngest in my family, and their 6-year-olds, both of them, are the eldest in their family.
Yeah.
And when they were talking to me, I was just kind of smiling and I was quiet. And then they were laughing at me and they were like, "You want to say something, don't you? You want to say something?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, I do. I really do." Because the thing is, I wish so badly sometimes that someone had said to me, "Don't worry, it's going to figure itself out. Don't worry." Yeah, because I feel like the amount of time, the amount of sleepless nights, the number of sleepless nights that I had. Sorry, my mum watches this and corrects my English. So the number of sleepless nights that I have had, reflecting on and thinking about my, my children, and the fact that they really need that kind of support and guidance. I've definitely been there for them. I believe that, my husband's got way better at being there for them. It has been a tumultuous relationship. It's been really difficult. But one of the things that I was really stressed out about, I'll be honest with you, is Miriam, when she stopped covering.
Yeah.
And that was a really tough time for us. Like it really was. I can't even explain like the thoughts. And it kind of leads on to what one of the questions was by Saliha in the group today, where she was saying that it doesn't matter what we do in terms of Islam, sometimes teenagers just seem to turn away from it, right? And I did feel like that with her, but Alhamdulillah, the one thing that I've always said, and I think in our groups and in our sessions we've said that as well, Aisha, isn't it? That the main fundamental parts of being a Muslim, like praying, fasting, believing in Islam, I would put way more emphasis on that, so that part is strong, so that when they do feel comfortable enough to come back, and Alhamdulillah, that's what happened. She did come back. She's now started wearing and covering even more than me, mashallah. Which is fantastic, right? And I've had parents at the school and teachers come to me and say, like, what happened to her? She was like this before and now she's like this. And I said, look, it's all up to her. I've never stopped her. I've always prayed for her, like we advise everyone to do. And I promise you, like, it's definitely up there, and one of the hardest things that I've had to do to stop myself from being so stressed about it. But what you have to realize is that when you've done a good job from 0 to 7 and then 7 to 14, so 0 to 7, you've played with them, you've let them relax, you bring them home, you allow them to be kids, let them go out, let them enjoy themselves, and you're not forcing them to like sit down and learn and sit down and do this and sit down and do that. You just let them be kids. So by the time they're 7 to 14, they're ready to learn. Then they've got that mood on to learn. And then 14 onwards, you've got to treat them like an adult, because Islamically they are adults, they're not teenagers, right? So in that, for that reason, we had to step back and be like, look, we've done our job, and in front of Allah we can say that we've tried our best. And at the end of the day, Allah, you're the one who guides, right? You're the guide. So please guide her. Please tell her, make her wear it. Please, please, please make her wear it. So alhamdulillah, that I think that sometimes it is very, very difficult to be patient in that time. But if you are, then alhamdulillah, it does get better. And I'm not saying that I was patient. It took me time to get to that level of patience. It really did. But when we got there, we were patient with her, and the less that we spoke about it, the less attention we gave to it, the more she kind of went towards it herself. What do you think about this, Aisha? Because you sent a really nice voice note in the group. So do you want to mention a couple of the words that you said there?
So this sister particularly came to us and said that in her friendship / acquaintances groups, she sees that some of their teenagers have gone away from Islam despite having really Islamic backgrounds in their family and upbringing. So the deen is there, like they're being taught it, etc. But why are they still turning away, like what is the pandemic basically. And the one thing I said to her is, we can't answer that with this is the problem, because for each person and each family it is very, very different, and their circumstances are different, their environment is different, everything is different. So we can't really say it's definitely one thing and it's not the other thing. But it requires, like Sarah said, it requires so much patience, and beautiful patience as well, to be able to really slow down and think about, okay, what is the environment that I am bringing my children up in? What is the message that I am sending them to? Because sometimes we don't realize, but when we teach with force, our children reject that. Like, it has to be done with so much barakah and so much like rahmah, like mercifulness in our teaching approach. Like, that's basically the gist of what I was saying. But also, I reminded the women of the story of Noah alayhi salam, Prophet Noah, and how he was rightly guided by Allah. He was a prophet of Allah, right? But still, his son and his wife rejected Allah and his messenger. So what is it that he did wrong? Well, none of us are going to say that he did this wrong and did this wrong, because he wasn't. He still kept calling them to Islam. He taught them good manners, etc., etc. He led by example, but guidance is from Allah. And that's the difficult part that we have to grapple with, because we think, yeah, I understand that, but what can I do? And the best thing that you can do is, the biggest thing is to follow the sunnah. That is why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was gifted to us, as a gift to us as his ummah as well, to follow with through to what exactly the Prophet did, how he thought, what he said, his akhlaq, his character. That so many people came to Islam just watching him, in how he approached people, in how he held prisoners, in how he helped his wives, in how he helped his friends, people that were orphans, planted trees, all of these things. People reverted to Islam just because of watching him and his akhlaq. So if we were to add that and put that into our lives, imagine what people around us would do. Generally, as Muslims, we think about calling the non-Muslim to Islam with character. But actually, if we start closer to home, we're calling our children to Allah by the character, and making it as easy as possible. So if there's something that your child is really struggling with, let me just tell you, maybe it's your Quran, right? Maybe it's tajweed, or maybe it is wearing the hijab, or maybe it is eating with the right hand even. These things can take time and they will come, so long as you give them the space for them to make that mistake and come back. Make the mistake and come back. Like, the biggest thing when Muslims are making mistakes is not always the mistake itself, but it's what happens after. Are you gonna go back to Allah and seek forgiveness? But you have to give yourself that room and that space, and we have to do that with our children as well. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. What you do after is what matters. How you rectify that or correct it, or how you feel about it. And that was the gist of the message that I sent the sister, because we all need reminders. None of us are perfect. Even if we practice so much, it doesn't necessarily mean that guidance is for all of us. So it takes time to get there, I think, anyway. What do you think?
I think you put it really well, mashallah, because like in the Quran as well, it says that there's some people that aren't going to be guided, right?
Yeah,
So, unfortunately, like, we just pray that we're not those, yeah? That Allah, and every time we pray, that's what we keep saying, like, Allah, guide us to the straight path, guide us to the straight path, yeah? The one that you want us to be on, right?
yeah,
Not of the one that, or the people that have been led astray. So when we pray that, and we pray it with like conviction, then inshallah Allah will guide them. And at the end of the day, he ultimately knows what's going to happen with our children, and he knows what choices they're going to make. Just like we made our choices, they're going to make their choices. And I think that it becomes there's a time where you've got to realize that the child is their own person now, rather than part of you. Yeah. And when you give them that space, like you said, to grow and make their own decisions, and then we hope that we've taught them enough that when it's time to make their own decisions, they'll make the right decisions according to what we think. That's really hard.
You know
It's
what?
very hard to do.
Sometimes I think about it and I think, oh my God, how the hell did my mom do it?
Yeah.
Like, how did she let go? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I often have open conversations with my mom, especially because there's 5 of us. And I said, Mom, how did you let me do that stupid thing whenever I was doing that? Like, I have no idea how you let me go to school with all this eyeliner on and bloody no socks in the snow. Those might be small things, but like how'd you do it? And one of the things she always said to me is sometimes in your heart is screaming at you, like, tell her to do this, tell her to do that, tell her to do this, because that's the way we're built. But at that time, what would you have felt? You would have felt like, my mom doesn't know anything, for God's sake, she's so controlling.
Yeah.
And she goes, then you wouldn't have been able to make that mistake to learn from it.
Yeah. I love that.
Crazy.
That's really good, mashallah, because you're learning from the mistakes that you've made yourself, which everyone knows is the best kind of learning, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, like now I'm a grandma. I'm not going anywhere without socks and a coat and a scarf and gloves. And I live in the UK. We've already got the heating on.
Oh,
I don't know
seriously.
how I did it.
It's actually
Yeah,
gone for some reason. Today is like hotter than normal. It's really humid today. Yeah.
please, don't make me
I'll send it
jealous.
on to you. I
No,
like
it's cold
Adila.
here.
Adila said that the love of our deen should be shown through the actions, right?
Yeah.
Children learn from what they see. Another sister at the beginning said, how should we develop trust between teens and parents, especially when the father's negative behavior reflects on the teens? I think that's another good one for you, Aisha, because relationship wise.
I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? I would always say, just as we've just been speaking about action, and also giving them space, making sure that you're telling your children every day that I'm here no matter what, and I'm going to love you through whatever you've done. Because I have to, sometimes my girl's 8, right? And I still have to tell her now, it doesn't matter what you've done, I love you. Because she used to not tell me things. She used to quickly tell me things and say, but do you love me, Mum?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because she would think that because I've done something I shouldn't have done, my mom's not going to love me anymore. And so I reaffirm that all the time. And even as, and especially as teenagers, I think we need it, just to be told from our parents that I got you. I got this space. It's open. There's a chair there whenever you want. And create safe words. So I think I use this with my own mom growing up, creating safe words for us. So if I texted my mom, let's say SOS, we'll just take that as an example. My mom would know that she had to call me in that particular time because there's something has happened. Or I came home and said SOS. We all know that that particular word means, look, this person is in distress and that they need help. So it can be anything crazy for you and your children to make them feel more comfortable. But having that time all the time, one-on-one time, still as a teenager applies just as much as it does to your younger children. As much time as you could possibly give them, it will never, ever go in vain. Time with your children will never go in vain, because there's going to be a time that comes where they say, you know what, Mum, I'm an adult now, I'm married, I don't need to see you as much. And they won't, because they're adults and they're living their lives. And this time that you have now will never, ever, ever, ever come back.
Yeah.
So take heed I certainly have been doing the same thing as well.
Wise Aishah, old lady Aishah.
In old.
Messing with you. Yeah, I just want to add to that the fact that somebody was saying the other day that they wanted to know what to do about their child who has really impulsive behavior, and the impulsive behavior affects the safety of them and their children and the other kids around them.
Okay.
And in that particular situation, she'd left the cooker on, and she had basically told her kid, "Don't touch it, leave it alone." But obviously, he still did, and then he kind of set fire to stuff that was in the recycling bin.
Oh
And then
no.
because that set on fire, obviously it was dangerous, and then she had to deal with all of that. And then obviously she was really stressed out. She did shout at him, and obviously I just wanted to add to, well, I'd sent a voice message in the group about it, to be honest with you. But the thing is that we all practice, or we try to practice as much as possible, that connection before discipline, kind of connection before correction. Sorry, I was trying to think of the word. Trying to have that affection connection so that they understand that you love them and you care for them. And all of that, I think I've said it before as well, it builds credit with the child. So as long as you're always reaffirming that, exactly what you said, like, I love you, I take care of you, you're my kid, I'm looking after you with, I want you to have the best in life. This is why we're doing this, or this is why we're doing that.
Yeah.
You keep reaffirming that. When it comes to situations where you've had to tell them off, they won't feel as bad. Yeah. When I think like that was one of the keys for me, especially with my eldest, because she always felt like she was always getting in trouble. And it was really, really hard for me to find times where I could be like, oh, wow, you've done something really good, because I was focused on the negative. I was focused on it. I wasn't focused on the good stuff, although there was loads of good stuff. I'd see her helping her little siblings do something, or showing them, or playing with them, and so on, right? And then once I started looking out for it, then you start to see it more and more, right? And it's the same thing. So with the child, even if you have to correct their behavior, even if you have to tell them off, even if, you scream at them because in the moment you were just so scared, because that is probably how the mother felt, right? Super scared, like, oh my God, you could have set fire to the house, set fire, hurt you, your siblings, and so on.
Yeah.
And you kind of react out of fear. But as long as the child knows that you do care for them, and you do love them, and you do want to be with them, then it's okay if sometimes you do that.
That's justified though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Of
at
course.
that point, right? Do you
I
know what I
would go
mean?
crazy as well. Anyone, yeah. Anyone.
Because you'd just be so freaked out, right? So I just wanted to validate that. And secondly, what I wanted to say was, if you know that your child messes about, then honestly, it's not worth it. Like going to do your laundry, or going to answer the front door, or going to do anything while the stove is on is not worth it. Because if you know your child, then you know how to deal with them, right?
Yeah.
Like I have this oh bless, who's that? I bet that's Farida. Aishah. Said, I'm jealous, I can't come on right now. Sorry. I get distracted by the comments. I need to cover them up.
For some reason, the Facebook ones come up as Facebook user and not your names. So
Yeah.
if you do type through Facebook, tell us who you are.
Just, either say your name or just say, yeah, it's okay. It's Yusra seeing you as one of you two.
Oh man, sorry, we thought it's free.
We can't wait to have you back on, inshallah, soon. Yusra's enjoying the nice weather now, hopefully, aren't you? Right. Anyway, back to the point. So back to the point. What I was trying to say was that if you know your child is going to be like that, they're one of those kids that gets into trouble often, then you have to have those safety measures in your home, in your life, the way that you deal with the kids, right? You need to know, and you need to basically look at your house and make it a safe space for them, right? So
Yeah.
personally, if that was me and I definitely had to leave the stove on, I would put a lock on the kitchen door. If I had to leave it on and leave it, and there was no one to watch the kids or whatever, I would put a lock on, or I would take the child with me to wherever I was going so that I could keep an eye on them and make sure that they're not going to do it. So I just wanted to point that one out as well, even though we answered it on the group earlier, because I think we expect, or we do have high expectations of our kids, right? I have high expectations of them. I have expectations of them in their studies, in their behavior, in, getting stuff done, making sure that they can, survive, like survival skills, right? But at the end of the day, they're kids, right? So if I give
Yeah.
them a knife to chop
Still
and I'm
learning.
like, yeah, here you go, here's a knife, chop this apple. I've got high expectations, but if they cut themselves, I can't get angry at them because I'm the one who gave them the knife, right?
Yeah.
So this is that balance that we have to have, sisters, yeah? And absolutely, the children like to be praised for the good and being guided if they made a mistake. Oh my God, Yusra doesn't have electricity and it's really hot. I'm so sorry, Yusra. Inshallah, may Allah make it easy for you.
Inshallah
Right.
soon.
So I just wanted to go back to the teens and the parents and the fathers, especially. So with the dads, I think that we as mums sometimes have to talk to the fathers as well. And we have to kind of guide the fathers because they, bless them, may not have been parented in the way that we want to parent now. And sometimes between you're conflicted in how to deal with things. And I've had that with my husband. He's like, okay, then fine, you deal with it. And I'm like, okay, I will deal with it. Like, leave me to it and I will deal with it. But I have one of my kids, I think I've talked about him a lot, Suleiman, who's kind of got a lot of anxiety. Yeah. And he's on that kind of, sensory spectrum, where he gets anxious. So if his dad shouts at him, he'll get worried about it. But if his dad shouts at Zachariah, the older one, Zach won't care. Zach's just like, oh yeah, dad shouted at me, big deal, right? But
Yeah.
and it's not like when he does shout, again, he's not really shouting. He's just a very big, loud guy. Do you know what I mean? It's like normally very loud. So
he's
it
just a,
feels
he's
like
just
he's
a Pakistani man.
it feels like he's getting shouted at. So there's that feeling that he has. And then I have to like keep on reminding him, I'm like, like, listen, you talk to Suleiman, like, be gentle with him. He doesn't respond well to that, and so on. Yeah. With the other one, with Zachariah, for some reason, I don't know, either he's immune to it because he's older, I'm not sure, but he's never been that sensitive about it. So just
Yeah.
thinking about like how to deal with the kids. It's a case of constantly reminding them. And the thing is, when you have a good relationship between yourselves, then you can remind each other. But if I've just argued with him over something, and that's my example that I'm giving to the kids, obviously the kids are going to take that on board as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we've got to like pretend to be the best of friends, even though sometimes they just do your head in. So that the
That's
kids
every relationship, right? That's every relationship, though.
yeah, it is. It's really hard sometimes. And the tone of the father, yes, exactly, Adila. She says the tone of the father makes the kids scared and they can't differentiate between normal talking and anger. And I've often told the kids as well that sometimes mummy and daddy, we're just in a hurry. So we just say, quickly, go and do this. It doesn't mean that we're angry or upset. It's just that we really need it done quickly. So we're not upset about it. It's just that we've said it fast because it has to be done. Yeah. Whatever the thing is, like, get your shoes on so we can get out.
Oh my goodness me. That has been the biggest nightmare of my school year so far. Getting the shoes on, getting her ready. So for those of you who don't know, I only have the one daughter, right? But it takes us over an hour to get 5 pieces of clothing on in the morning. She's not a toddler. She's not a kid. She's 8 now. She's gonna be 9 in like few months. But she dawdles about, and do you know what? What's worse is when I tell my mum about it. as you do, Mom, why does it take him so long? And my mom has nothing nice to say except for, Aisha, you did the same thing. And I'm
I love
like, that doesn't help me. Doesn't help me.
that.
School run is the best.
Bless. All right, so let's go on to the next question. So I guess again, subhanallah, some of these questions are like very connected because Sister Ruhi has said that her son is 9 and she's always filled him with Islam as much as she could, the du'as, the history, love for the ummah. But alhamdulillah, but lately he's not praying except for Maghrib and Fajr with his dad in the masjid. And he says that he doesn't understand why he has to keep on praying again and again, bless him. So any advice for that one, Aisha?
Yeah, I would say stick to those that he can do, because he's not baligh yet anyway, so there shouldn't be any pressure. However, of course, you would still try and make it fun. So one of the things, so about the same, your child is about the same as mine, same age. One of the things we did was, although I know you're trying to take him to the masjid, even if you did some at home, and decorate his prayer mat, I put perfume on ours. My girl loves to spray perfume on hers. These small little things that they probably wouldn't be able to do at any other time, because no way is she allowed to spray my perfume anywhere. But for the prayer mat, she's allowed. And we have separate clothing, and we perfume that as well, and just make it so like exciting when it happens. And then I do it with her. And sometimes when we're at home, I will read aloud so that she's still remembering everything, the surahs and the order everything goes in. And then sometimes she will actually do it. So I will pray alone, but she has to read out aloud so I can still hear her. And that prompts her to make sure that she's doing everything in the right order, etc., etc. But she has that independence. A few times she has broken her wudu, and whilst we were praying, has come out of prayer, gone to refresh her wudu, and carried on. And I have no idea what's going on. And she's like, Mama, I broke my wudu, and I had to go and refresh it. And I'm like, I didn't know that you knew that you had to do that. So it's amazing how much they actually know. So reel back a bit, I would say, but just remind them about the love of Allah more than anything else. And His mercy all the time. All the time. If you feel for whatever reason it's getting too much for them, just hold back a bit. It's okay. Because your akhlaq, your character will represent Islam anyway. Because you never want to pressure them. And if he's already saying to you, I don't understand why we have to go multiple times a day, yes, you can tell him the story of Isra wal Mi'raj, but what good is that going to do if they're already feeling tired and burnt out already? So I would say take it easy.
Yeah, definitely tell the story though, because I think with my kids that really did help them understand the number of times, because they were like, oh my God, we're so lucky it's only 5 times. Do you get what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah. So like it does help them, I believe. Even it
yeah.
might, I mean, the thing is it's worth a try, right? It might
No,
help them, like
definitely.
you said. Yeah.
I think it will definitely help them. But I'm saying, if you're already feeling burnt out,
Yes.
and then you tell them, well, actually, this is what has happened with Allah. Sometimes they just think, okay, they know, but it
Yeah.
still doesn't take that tiredness away from them. So you
Yeah.
can do that definitely, but just take it easy. So it might be that you just only drop it down to fard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah. I
mean?
like
Instead of the whole thing for them.
Yeah. And the thing is that when they're younger as well, like what we did is like one of the salahs, Maghrib, right? Like that, you do that one permanently, and then you add another one, and then you add another one. So, as time goes on, they'll get used to it, and they'll get, subhanAllah. I remember actually when I was younger, because we kind of came to Islam later in years in terms of age. And I remember there were times when I was exhausted, come back from college or school or whatever.
Same.
And I remember my sisters going, "You've got to pray Isha." And I just wanted to thump them.
Exactly. And he's only 9, so he's still
Yeah.
preteen,
So it's hard. It's not easy. And I think that because of my experience myself, I do but I try to remind them earlier, like 'cause when they're not so tired. Yeah. So try and Isha, especially like if you remind them beforehand, and it's like, oh, I've just heard the azan, guys, right? That's it. Go pray now, so that it's done, and then it's not like lingering for a long time. That might help as well, inshallah.
Can I add something as well just to that? I think that also goes for everything. So for example, let's just say it's homework time as well. I always remind my girl, like, okay, girl, in 15 minutes, we're going to get ready for homework time. So she has that time to kind of get off it herself. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So when it comes to those 15 minutes, she's not as shocked and she's not like, oh, 5 more minutes. It still happens, don't get me wrong. She's still small, but rarely now because I've given her that time. And it might take a bit more of you being really conscious of time, but it really does work, and it's helped so many children with not having tantrums because they feel like, oh my god, she's taking this away right now. I can't play, or I can't do this, or it's bedtime, I don't want to do. And if I give her that time, it's still the same time, I just remind her earlier, okay, baby, got 20 more minutes. And she's like, oh, okay. Yes, it's still sad that she can't stay up for longer, but by the time that 20 minutes comes, she's ready. So I think even for praying as well, if you're telling them, okay, girls, in 10 minutes, we have to make wudu, it's time for asr. They're like, okay, then they're more ready for it.
That's a good one. That's a really good reminder. Definitely. Just reminding them. And the thing is, I've had some parents that I've spoken to and I've said, look, just keep giving reminders. And they're like, but I tell them 50 times and they still don't listen to me. The thing is that it takes time to get to that level where they actually understand the idea between the time and the warnings. So like pointing at the clock and saying, when that big hand goes to 7, that's when we're doing it. Like that. And then that'll help them understand the idea of time a little bit more. The same thing if they're on an iPad or something and it's like 1:15 and then you go, okay, at 1:30 when it goes 1.30, I used to do that with Sulaiman and Hafsa a lot. Just reminding them of what the time is. And the other one is to put timers on your phone to let them know. So that's my Pink Panther case my daughter's got for me. I say they got it, they didn't get it, they chose it. But anyway, put an alarm on your phone, inshallah, because the phone, again, use the devices for, for your betterment, like to make life easy for you.
And that's home education as well, by the way. That is you teaching your children like time. I had to do exactly the same thing. Especially with time, she'd get a little bit confused. And my mom has this really massive clock on her living room wall, and I would literally stand in front of it and ask her, like, which ones do you know? And then when this hand goes round, because we don't have a clock in our house. I don't know how I've lived with no clock in our house. I'm so used to devices. I think because I wear a watch, so I don't really think, oh, this. So, but I did have to get one for the time purposes to teach her the time, and now she's excellent at it. But you do have to remind them sometimes. Okay, when that goes to 30, that means we're up. The time's up. And she uses the stopwatch a lot more now. But you're teaching maths. You're teaching maths there, and so you don't realize small things like this, or you can use it to your advantage as a parent, but you're actually teaching them things as well.
Yeah.
Like that's times tables as well. Oh my god. 5 times tables as well.
So many things, right? It's brilliant, mashallah. I wonder who you were talking to about all these homeschooling tips. All right. It was me, by the way, if you don't know. I'm joking. Okay, so the next one, need tips on how to increase the focus of a child to finish a task. So how to encourage a child so he doesn't get distracted. My kids get distracted easily. So I was thinking there must be something lacking in our study strategy. I said the word lacking because seriously it's not.
No.
And Aisha's shaking her head as well.
No.
Do you want to go?
I was gonna say, look, I haven't quite figured it out yet.
All right.
No, this is what I do. So I have so as I mentioned earlier, it takes my girl almost an hour sometimes to put 5 pieces of clothing on. They're always laid out for her, and that's something that helps. So depending on what the task is, if you can lay out things for them so that they know the order of it. So let's just say it's putting their own cereal in the morning, or shoes. If their socks and shoes are next to each other, makes it easier. If it's their coat, make sure the bag is next to the coat so they can grab the bag after they put the coat on. So whatever you can do to help them so that they get in the habit of it. So if your kids are a little bit older, like my girl, she has to do that herself. But I always have to remind her, did you put the bag next to your coat? Have you put your homework back in your bag? So the small habits like this, because that's how I was raised actually. But there are some things that naturally kids are going to take longer on because they are learning. They are learning. They can't do it in 30 seconds like me and you can because we're on a time crunch. Because just like we said, their concept of time is very different to mine and yours. And so I think this is one of those times where you start with you. What I mean by that is you are going to have that beautiful patience because they simply are not on the same step as you. So when it comes to the actual activity, I always have to be her hype woman. Okay, we've done the t-shirt, it's a dress next. Or make a list. So it really depends on the age of your children, right? If they can read and things like that, I have a little list every day. Okay, make sure we have bag, hair bubble in, all of these things. So she has a whole like little mini routine, if you will, and she has to just make sure she's got everything because there's certain days she has to have certain things for school. It's not always the same. And that's really helped with us, but making sure it's done the day before, not the morning off. That's specifically for school. But when it comes to actually getting tasks done, I always just have to remind them, okay, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do. And it's okay to repeat yourself. Your mom, we're parrots for the next 30 years because that's kids. It has things that are taught to you are always done in repetition. Just like school, you have to go through the A to Z like 1,500 times.
Before you
Right?
learn it. Yeah.
Till you learn it, and you'll have to do it again and again. And it's the same with us because we're teachers too as parents. We do have to say things 100 times. It's okay. It's frustrating, but that's why mothers have such a big reward because we have to do this type of stuff. I hope that helps. I hope it gives tips to anyone. Certainly helped us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to add to that to increase the focus of a child. So you haven't said how old the child is. So again, we're kind of guessing here. But one of the things that I do with my kids is mindfulness, again, because it does help them to focus and it helps them to do things and concentrate. Because, for example, if you're doing mindful coloring, you've got like a big pattern to color, so they've got to learn how to be patient. They've got to learn how to stay in the lines and things like that. So that could help them practice focusing. There's apps on the iPad you can put on. I think they're just called focus apps, but I'll look it up for you. I can't remember the name now because I used to use them with Miriam when she was homeschooled. And what happens is you put it on the iPad, and the longer they focus, the more trees you get in your forest. or
Oh
like
yeah,
flowers grow as you focus. Do you remember those apps? I've forgotten the name of it.
yeah.
But basically, like you put it on, and then the longer they focus, the more trees they get. So then obviously they focus for longer because they want more and more trees to grow in the forest. So you could do that as well. What another strategy that I did with Suleiman especially was he would do literally one question and then he would go for a run. He would run around the room, or he would do 5-star jumps or 5 jumping jacks or whatever. I would make it a bit more interesting sometimes for him, because he was like quickly does his sum and then he's like, right, what do I do now? Like that was, it was like the excitement that, oh my God, I'll do this sum and then I get a reward of running around like, okay, you weirdo.
You gotta
So
do it.
as well, yeah, just like just literally bending down, touching your toes, whatever it is. And then if you do it with them as well, sometimes if you do it with them, that helps them as well, because they're like, oh my God, like mom's doing it with me, how cool is that? You can also do brain gym with them, where you're basically getting the right hand side and the left hand side of your brain to communicate with each other, because you've got the two hemispheres, the two sides of your brain, the right side and the left side. And the more there's cross communicating with them, the more that your brain develops, right? So again, you could look up brain gym strategies. If you're on the Love Learning website and you're in the Parents Lounge, I've done a whole hour's worth of brain gym on there. It's in the Parents Lounge. So if you guys want to watch that, you're very welcome to do that, inshallah. We are sort of running out of time, so I'm just going to take these last 2 questions. So the first one is, my daughter who's 3 hits my son who's 11 months. She doesn't do it very hard. She's usually very sneaky and she thinks it's hilarious or funny. How do I make her stop?
I think she's testing boundaries there.
Yeah, I believe
What it
that.
is. Testing
Yeah.
boundaries, because I think I probably did the same thing to my younger sister.
And attention seeking maybe as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say
Because
lots of care with lots of time with your 3-year-old. I know 11 months is still really young, but maybe do it during their nap time, and then spending time with your 3-year-old. But you do have to be firm in telling them like this is not okay. And at 3, we can understand that.
yeah.
We do understand no, but you have to consistently do it, and it's the way you're doing it. So moving the child away from the younger child. What do you think?
I agree with that. And also, because I had a question about boundaries with another girl as well, but she was a bit older. She was 7 years old.
Mm,
And I actually, it reminded me of an issue that I had to deal with my daughter, with Hafsa and someone. And basically, I had to literally separate them with a boundary, with a physical boundary. So at times, if they're on the sofa, for example, I'll just put kitchen roll in between them, and I'll just be like, that's your bit and this is her bit, and you don't cross
yeah.
over the line. And the thing is, with the 3-year-olds, they do like to follow rules. They're a bit weird like that. They like the rules and they like following them. So if you just tell them that this is your area, and then they're not allowed to get into there. And then obviously, because when you said that, when the sister said that she's quite sneaky about it, obviously she's got to get close to her to do that thing, right? So if you keep a boundary around the baby that the older one can't get into, then that means they can't get there, so they can't do anything to
Yeah.
the child, right? But then that doesn't stop you when they use things around like missiles, chucking Lego in there or blocks or whatever. So again, you've got to think about the situation that you're in, whether it's suitable for you to get that toy out at that time, whether you should put those toys away, whether you should, there's quite a lot to unpack there again. We can't really answer that, to be honest, in 5 minutes. But the reason that I think she might think it's funny is because she's getting a reaction out of you. So if you don't react, or you just like pick up the baby and move them away from the situation, then she might, once she stops getting the reaction and stops getting the attention, then at that point they will stop, inshallah. What do you think? Is that okay?
Totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree. I think at 3, you kind of know yes and no. Yes, you're pushing the boundary to make sure that you get a reaction from your parents. Because let's face it, and I've said this before openly, all kids are brats. They are going to test you and test you and test you. and test you until you feel like you don't want to be tested anymore. But that's why our reward is so high. And I think as parents, we need to remember that as well. Like, patience is a virtue, but we're also teaching our children what to do when we discipline them as well.
Yes, I love that. The last question from Sister Shanaz, she's saying that the children don't like to be told to do something over and over again. So when you repeat something more than once. So when they get to teenage years, because I do know her kids are older, when they get to the teenage years, I agree with you that they that turns into what we call nagging at that point, right? And they don't like that. And it's true, I don't like it as well. I hate it when my husband nags me. Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done that? Oh, for God's sake, you've told me, just leave
Same.
me alone and I'll do it my own time, right? The only time that I would repeat it with the kids is if I know either I know that they've forgotten, or it's like a time crunch thing. So I
Yeah.
need to know that they've done it before that time, right? So like with my older kids, I'll tell them something. I'll tell them like, okay, you've got to do X, Y, Z. I don't know. Let's say, I don't even know what I tell them to do anymore. But like, let's say I want them to wash up, right? They don't wash up. Okay, let's say I want them to clean the bathroom. They do that. Okay, so if I want them to clean the bathroom, I need to give them a time that I want that bathroom done by. And I need to negotiate that with them. I can't say to them, I want that bathroom done right now. I want you to go in there and clean it all up. They're not going to work like that. They will work with you though. So you can say to them, when can you have that bathroom done by? Right? Okay. Or, can you put that bathroom on your schedule today, please? Like act like they're in an office or something and just be like, role play it. Make it
Yeah.
fun. Make it like, again, you're still playing with them. You're still talking to them. It's still like open communication. Or it's like, right, guys, I've got this, this, and this to do. Who wants to do this job, that job, and I'll do the other one. Right? So you basically divide the jobs up, excuse me, and you let them know, and then they let you know, right, mum, I'm so sorry, I can't do the bathrooms today. Can you give me another job because I'm very busy today? I've got loads of homework. That's fine. They're communicating with you. They're letting you know, I can't do that for you today. And that's okay. We can't be like, no, you must do that. That they're not gonna appreciate that. They're not going to respond to that, right? So we need to like negotiate it. You might want to negotiate it once a week, once a month, once a day, whatever it is, but those things might have to be negotiated with them.
Yeah.
In terms of like I said, like if you say to them, when are you going to do it? But when are you going to do it? But when are you going to do it? They're never going to do it because they're just going to get annoyed with you, the fact that you keep on saying it. And I say that again because this is what I feel bad, but sometimes I say to my husband, like, what is this tasbih like? You be more beneficial to you to do Allah Akbar or subhanallah than keep on telling me to do this job, right? Okay, so even with me, I'll message him in the morning and I'll give him like, okay, this is what needs to be done today, and that's it. I'll just leave it. At whatever point of the day he manages to do that, that's fine. If he hasn't done it, at the end of the day, I'll be like, oh, did you do that? Oh no, I've forgotten. Okay, tomorrow I'll give the same reminder, but not multiple times in the same day. In terms of the younger kids, the reason that we repeat with them is because they don't really understand the idea of time. So they don't really understand like what 10 minutes is or what 15 minutes is. So repeating to them is just reminding them, okay, you had 15, now you've got 10, now you've got 5. Now in 1 minute, we've got to get our shoes on and get out of the door. So that's like a different repetition rather than like this repetition. And Adila said, I've noticed they don't like multiple instructions. Yeah, I've noticed that they don't like instructions at all. They don't like instructions. I've
You got to
noticed.
break down tasks, don't you? You got to really break down tasks. It's like,
Yeah,
if I said to my girl, okay, I'm going into the kitchen to the kitchen, you have to do the living room. I mean, our living room doesn't, actually, that's a lie. It does get really messy. But it doesn't get, if I'm telling her to do it, it's never that messy, right? And she'll be like, yeah, but what does that mean? And I forget sometimes who I'm talking to.
yeah,
She's like, Mom, but what does clean up the living room mean? She might know generally, but what she's asking me for is specific things that she needs to move. So then I have to break it down and say, okay, make sure all of the mugs are in the kitchen whilst I'm washing up, and you pick up your clothes and shoes from the floor. That's it. Like those 2-3 things. That's it. And then if she can do more, depending on what she's doing, then she'll come back and ask me, okay, I've done that, what else?
Yeah.
Do you know? And
Yeah.
and I realized that sometimes she knows exactly what she's got to do, but then other times she has to have that task broken down. Like, what exactly does that mean? Even with homework as well, breaking that thing down again. But I use timers. I use timers a lot. Hey Google, put a timer on for X amount of time. My Google's going off. And and it's synced to both mine and her voice, so she can then put a timer on and she can see that time going down. Oh, I've got 10 minutes or whatever it is to get whatever it is done. And most people nowadays have TV, so they can put it even on their TV, so all of the children can see that time, like just
Yeah.
going down little by little by little. Just
Brilliant.
reading the
Mashallah. The Adila saying the timers are amazing. By the way, the microwave has a timer as well. If you're in the kitchen and you need a timer there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can just do timer. I never knew what that timer button was for. I figured it out like maybe about 2 years ago.
I just know the on and off button and the 30-second button. That's literally it.
That's the only ones we use, isn't it? Okay, so race to tidy up. Oh, by the way, you have to use the timer button because I had a cleaner and I told her, like, in 10 minutes, can you turn off the cooking? I'm going to go pick up the kids. And she actually put the microwave on. And then when I came back, I was like, what the heck have you done? And she said, oh, I see you do that. And I was like, no, you weirdo, you press timer. So press the timer one.
I'm
Okay.
going to do it straight after this, then let you all know how it worked out.
I love what Adila said, that there's a race to tidy up. Yes, that's brilliant, mashallah, because you can give them all different tasks in the same room, or you can give them different tasks for the house, and you can reward everyone together. Like, for example, say you want to do like movie night on Friday, or say you all want to go out bowling, or you all want to go out and do something together. When you say to the kids, look guys, I really want to go with you, but if I have to do all of this by myself, it's going to take me 2 hours, and if you guys all help me, it will take 30 minutes. Can we all just quickly do 30 minutes blitz? My mum used to call it that, 30 minutes blitz of the house. And then it's all like picked up and back to normal. So when you come back, you don't have that thing of like, oh, got to tidy up now, right? And then that makes you feel better. Adila's got a reward chart. I love that, Adila, as well. Yeah, it's brilliant, mashallah. Reward charts. I hardly ever use them. What I do now is that they've got from school as well, Class Dojo. Have you guys used that?
Yeah, we use that.
Yeah, they like that one a lot, but they add points for themselves randomly.
Of course.
And Shanaz is saying that her 10-year-old is more mature to do chores than the elder ones. So the thing is that, again, with the older children, I do feel like you have to work with them from a young age. And the more that we work with them from a younger age, the more that they'll kind of carry on with that at an older age. And it isn't about like, because for example, just the other day, I was driving home from the shops and I saw this guy come out of the shop with a baby in his arm, and he gets into the front seat of the car and he drives the car with the baby in the front seat, and he's driving with like he's right in the driving seat. He's not in the passenger seat even, right? Now, I used to do back in the day, 10 years ago now, I used to have to do after school duty, and the kids didn't want to be in their car seats. They didn't want to close the doors. They didn't want to put their seat belts on. So there would be all of these maids and drivers that were picking up the kids, right? Obviously, I'm talking about Middle East, not in the UK, but I'm just saying. And they would say to me, no, madam, sorry, he cry. And I used to say to them, like, cry, like, do you want them to cry or do you want them to die? Like, hello, it doesn't matter if they cry, put the belts on. Because if you do it with those things at that time, it's definitely going to be better for them, inshallah. Yeah. Aisha, can you
Yeah.
just carry on a minute? I just got to grab my kids. One sec.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so we have a question that came in. So, Assalamu alaikum. I wanted to know, how do I maintain a good, healthy relationship with my teenage daughter and monitor her phone usage without her feeling that I am watching over her all the time? Okay, so wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I have not seen your name before, but welcome, welcome. Mind you, I haven't been here for some time. But I would say, to maintain a good and healthy relationship, you must have open communication. Now, I have said this multiple times. Your children still need to know that you are the mother, okay? Like, mom is going to do mom things. That means I am going to be checking your usage, your phone usage, should I need to. So if you're saying it in that type of way, like, at the end of the day, I love you, I'm a friend to you, but I am still your mom. You're creating that boundary of them understanding she's still my mom, but I can tell her what I need to tell her, or whatever I need to tell her. So that differentiation is incredibly important, to know that they still see you as a friend, but you're still their mom, which means there's certain things you just don't say to your mom because that's your mom, right? Certain way you don't want your children to speak to you. That differentiation comes here. The second thing is using an app. What are they called? Like Family Link, something like that. But explain why you're doing it. So explaining to her that it's for her safety, which I hope that's what you're monitoring, is for her safety, online safety, whereabouts she is, etc. And there is not going to be something that is checked every day unless she gives you a reason to. This is exactly the same conversation my mom had with us as teenagers. She would always say the same thing, and I definitely say that to my daughter now. Unless you give me a reason to, I got no business checking it all the time. But there has to be some level of me being able to see where you're at, especially for girls. Well, for all kids anyway, but now, especially if you're in the UK, it's going to get darker now a lot quicker. After school clubs, madrasa, all of that shebang happens. So just explain to them, say, this, the reason why we want to do this is for your safety. For your safety, and I'm sure they'll understand, inshallah.
Can
Oh,
I add to that? Having teenage daughters, they don't like being watched on the phones. They really don't like it, right? But like Aisha said, I love that. It's like, well, don't give me a reason to keep checking it then, right? If I have a reason to check it, that means that I need to check it. End of story. Yeah. So what we have is like an open lock policy. Basically, we know their passwords. I don't have to check the phones, but I do check them, but I don't have to, if that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Because I can see what's going on. And I know that they have spam accounts. I know that they have whatever's going on. I try and keep it like above board. And I always want to know what's going on. Right. And the thing is that, again, when you've had that relationship with them as they're growing up and you become their friend and they feel comfortable sharing with you. Like today, she was actually texting me while she was at school. She was texting me while she's at school telling me about something, whereas she could be telling her friends about that thing at school and then wait until she comes home to tell me. But she wanted to share that immediately. Does that make sense? Yeah.
yeah,
So again, it's that relationship that you have with the children. And I feel like with the kids as well, like when you have that open talkative relationship, then you are constantly talking and enjoying and spending time together. I've been in people's houses where everyone is just silent and no one's talking, and no, and like
yeah,
about little things. Do you get what I mean? Like not even
yep,
about little things, or like they'll say something and their parents will just take it a completely wrong way, and then that's kind of unfair because that environment is not conducive to talking. Yeah. So like
yeah.
again, the same thing. Like when we're on a family Zoom with me and my parents. My dad literally is like, "Can I get a word in? Can I get a word in?" Because we're all right? Or even if we're like in real life, you know, my dad, poor thing, he has to be like, please, can I say something? Because everyone's going right. So I just wanted to add that in, that if you keep that talkative like environment where you talk about everything, so whatever they say to you, they say so much rubbish sometimes that you just seriously like, oh my god,
Yep.
like do I really have to listen to this? But I do have to listen to, you know, blah blah came and then she showed me her spider, and then that spider was bigger than my spider, mum, da 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 da, and it's just like a really random story. But if you listen to those random stories when they're little, they'll tell you the important ones later on, inshallah. And that honestly really does work.
Excuse me, sorry. I in those small stories, you actually learn so much about them.
Yes.
You learn so much about what they value as well, you know, and just by observing them when they're playing as well, you just learn. Like lately my girl's addicted to the mirror. And she can't stop staring at herself, and she does these commercials in front of the mirror that she's selling her this gel pen or whatever it is she's holding at the time. And do you know what? I laugh about it because I probably did the same thing, right? I
Yeah,
always thought I was on a cooking show. Come on, Samara, don't tell me you were never on
I
a
did.
cooking show. Yeah,
100% cooking show. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, exactly. And do you know what? That fuels their creativity to just
Yeah,
be able to be who they want to be. And
yeah,
although sometimes I am dying to laugh about it because it's so funny, it's hilarious to me, right?
yeah,
I don't do that because I let her just be, and it's so beautiful because obviously you don't want to embarrass them,
yeah,
but you do have to listen to whatever it is that comes out their mouths as well. Like so and so did this, and you know this person, yeah, mom, this is what they did in school, you know. But you know, I said this all of this stuff. It really shows so much character of theirs,
yeah,
and how much emphasis they put on things that just don't matter, but to them it does.
yeah,
To them, it's a really big deal.
yeah. And the
Last
thing,
question.
yeah.
Sorry,
Uh,
didn't mean to put.
no. It was just basically agreeing with you. So it says, how much do you agree of having the Find My Child app for kids? Have it on. What's the
Agree.
problem? I don't see any problem with that at all.
Yeah,
Because
that's the one I was referring to as well. It's called Family Link. It's with Google. Google, I think, is Family Link. Um, and that's something that I keep on. All first of all, although I'm an adult, I lose my phone a lot, so I have stuff like this already on my phone. Especially when my girl was younger, I think I lost my phone like 5 or 7 times. I just don't know.
I
I
can't
can't
even
explain
remember
why.
how many times, to be honest. I had a phone call, Aishah, from a charity shop in Brixton, and I lived in
Yeah.
East London at the time. And the person called from the charity shop saying, "Is this your phone? We think we have your phone." And I was like, "Huh? What?" I didn't even know, because back in those days we still used to have the landline. Do you remember? So I
Yeah,
think we
yeah,
just were addicted to the phones or whatever, and I hadn't even noticed that it had gone, and it had gone all the way to Brixton before someone had said. By the way, if anyone doesn't know London, it's like an hour and a half away on the tubes
yeah.
to get there. And I had to take the tube to go all the way down there to collect it. It was in a charity shop. Luckily, the guy rang me. Back in the day, people could have stolen it easily. But
Easy. Still now,
yeah,
it's
I mean, he
easy.
was able to get my number and phone me from there, get my landline number and phone me from it.
That's
Um,
crazy.
but yeah, like my sister's actually, she's washed her phone in the laundry. So yeah, definitely, I think yeah, so bad. Her husband punished her by not getting a phone for like 3 months, I think.
3 months. Oh my goodness. Okay,
But
that's bad.
again, it was back in the day when we didn't used to use them that much. Do you remember? Like, it wasn't like
Yeah.
when we had email and phones and apps and whatever on it. It was like back in the day. But I love that Adila said kids are mini versions of us, and it reminds you of your childhood. Because actually,
Yes.
sometimes when you react to your child in a situation, you're actually thinking of yourself in that situation as well. And when we
Hmm.
talked about triggers sometimes, that's what a trigger is, because it reminds you of your feelings in that situation. So if you felt helpless, if you felt um what's the word, like hard done by or whatever, even if your child doesn't feel helpless, you'll feel that they feel like that. You kind of project your
Yeah,
emotions onto them. So they are mini versions, but keep on reminding yourself that they're individuals in their own right as well, inshallah. And
absolutely.
definitely have the apps, have the monitoring, have the timers, and just be there with the kids and remind them that you don't have these things, for because you think they're going to do something. It's to be aware of what other people can do to you as well. Like, the
Absolutely.
amount of, like, sometimes the emails I showed my VA group. I've got 327 people blocked on WhatsApp, Aisha.
Wow, how did you get so many people's number? Actually, I know
You know
why.
how I get
How?
the numbers, right? So 327 people blocked on WhatsApp. Now, I can do that because I'm an adult. Yeah. I've got people that just message me and go, "Oh, are you Simon? Are you, what the heck are you on about? Delete, block, whatever." I just can't be bothered with it. So with my kids, sometimes they'll be like, "No, I'm not Simon." And then they'll start talking to them. That's how they get involved. That's how they start talking to you, right? So this is the thing here. But anyway, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your company and your time and your questions. And if you have any more questions for us, we're always here, aren't we, Aisha?
We're
MashaAllah.
always here.
Aisha helps me a lot with the WhatsApp group, don't you?
And if you're not joined onto our WhatsApp group, please do join us there. We have an amazing community there who are always willing to help out in whatever it is that you need helping out with. Like us last week with washing powder and washing liquid and scrubs to scrub our pots and pans.
And we all learned something, because that elbow
Yeah,
grease
we
thing,
did.
I honestly thought it was
You
just
thought
she
it
was
was put you
making
back
hard
into it
work.
kind of elbow grease.
I never even knew it existed. So these kind of things we do talk about, and we do banter a little bit, and we do enjoy each other's company. So please do join us, inshallah. And if you have any questions, you can send them in, and inshallah, in the next couple of weeks, we'll address them, inshallah. We do have another conference coming up, which we will be letting you know about, inshallah. Later on. Jazakallah khair. Thank you, Adila. I'm going to put her comment on there. I keep forgetting, actually.
Oh,
Oh, Assalamu alaikum, Anam. You okay? Your parenting group is amazing, especially WhatsApp. Yes. Thank you, Adila. And Adila's on my VA group, aren't you? Are you enjoying the VA group? And Anam, you're on the
ooh,
homeschoolers group, mashallah. So that's fantastic.
goodness.
So we are here. We're here helping you guys, doing what you guys love to do, inshallah, and parent your children. Okay. Lots of love and du'as. If there's any therapists that live in India, please do get in touch with us. No problem, and that's fine. If there's any therapists in India, please do get in touch with us. We're looking for somebody, for someone on our group. And take care. Lots of love and du'as. Aisha, you got anything to say? Last words?
Yeah, just thank you so much for being here and sending in your questions. Please do join the WhatsApp and post your questions in there and someone will always get back to you.
Yeah, inshallah. Usually me or Aisha.
Yeah.
We're the ones that will get back to you. All right. Take care, sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.